everybody, it's Dr. Sandman. I hope that all of you are doing great. It's time for another Let's Get This Bread video. It's been a while since I've made one. I feel like I said that last time too. Don't talk about it. Today, we're making a very special kind of bread. We're making Taboon bread. I think I'm saying that right. And it's kind of like a flatbread, which I don't think I've made on Let's Get This Bread yet. This recipe has two things that I love: few ingredients and easy steps, because we all know how things can get here on Let's Get This Bread. What you're gonna need, first of all, you're gonna need a big bowl or a medium-sized bowl. I think this recipe makes like a small amount, so you might even need a medium bowl. Something to stir. Measuring spoons. I got these from Joann's. They're like little skeletons. I love them. Measuring cups. You're gonna die when you see this. Oh shit. They're measuring cups, but they're a skeleton bottle. You're gonna need a baking pan and oven. You're gonna need your baking buddy. This is Fraser. He's in all my Let's Get This Bread videos. I love him. He's the producer. And you are gonna need flour, water, salt, yeast, and sugar. I think that's it. We're gonna mix a 1/4 cup of flour. I did not gather the flour gracefully, but that's what we got. So 1/4 cup, that doesn't feel like a lot. Well, this is a smaller recipe, so. And then you're gonna need 1 teaspoon of sugar. 1 teaspoon sugar. Feels like a lot. Okay. Salt. How much salt? Oh, ½ teaspoon of salt. You guys like my makeup? Can't see, there's a little bit of green here. Does it look familiar? Oh no. Trying not to get big clumps. And yeast. How much yeast? 3/4 of a teaspoon. So 3/4. So this is 1/4. So 3 of these. Yes. Of yeast. If you guys are wondering, I am getting over a cold. I'm fine. My voice is just disgusting. Other than the waiting times, this may be the fastest Let's Get This Bread like recipe portion of the video that I've done. And mix them. And then add a 1/4 cup of water. Can do. Okay. And then mix until it's a thick batter. It's making smaller portions, so don't expect to feed your whole family with this. So this is what it looks like so far. You can see it's a little thick. Next step is to cover it with something. It didn't really say what. I don't think it really matters. I'm using saran wrap. And cover it for 15 minutes. Oh, you thought this was going to be a regular Let's Get This Bread video. Think again. We will return to the recipe. We are going to finish it. But while we wait for the bread to rise, we're going to talk about something that's very important right now. So this is not just any Taboon bread. It is Palestinian Taboon bread. While we wait, it would be a disservice for me to not talk about the situation going on, the genocide that's going on, and I'm going to do the section that's going to benefit everybody. So benefit the people who are misinformed, benefit the people who are not informed at all and are neutral because they feel like they don't know enough, and to benefit the people who know, care, and want to know what to do. First of all, let's talk about how did we get here. So there's a country called Palestine. We know and we love it. In the early 1900s, the idea was first proposed in, I think, 1919, but the action was not taken until later. The idea was proposed that the ethno-state of Israel would be created, and it wasn't until after World War II that they actually enacted on it. And so why did they enforce this after World War II? Well, if you weren't familiar, there was a massive genocide of 6 million Jewish people, and the ones who survived were displaced all over the world. And so that's when the United Nations said, so we didn't want to genocide all these Jewish people, we didn't want them to die, but we also don't want them here because they were anti-Semitic too. As much as we like to applaud them and say that they were good for stopping the war, they also didn't care about these Jewish people. So they were all displaced, and they said, we don't want them here, let's shove them away to their own country. Also, if you believe that Jewish people have always been for the idea of Israel being its own state, you would be sorely mistaken. The creation of Israel as an ethno-state was one of the biggest debates in the entire of Judaism history. And most Jews were vehemently against it. So, and for multiple reasons, even after everything that they endured in the Holocaust, they still didn't think that the creation of Israel was the solution or a good idea at all, for logistic reasons and religious reasons. Logistically, they said, we can't do that. There are people there already. We can't just go and colonize them. The other logistic reason was they said, well, we just endured the Holocaust. Said the solution is not to isolate them from the world so that they could be free in their own home. The solution was to make wherever they found themselves living in a welcoming society for people of all faiths, all cultural backgrounds, all ethnicities, all genders, ages, everything. The solution was to make it so that the world was an accepting place so that this could not happen again. Isolating them and putting them away was not the solution. It wasn't the answer. It wasn't going to solve anything. And for religious reasons, I don't know if a lot of you have forgotten, one of the main pillars of Judaism is that they believe that they are in exile. So they believe that they cannot return to Jerusalem or the Holy Land until the Messiah returns and leads them back. It is in their text that until the day that the dead come out from their graves and that the true descendant of King David comes back and leads them back to Jerusalem, they can't go back. They're in exile until that happens. So when they were proposing the creation of Israel, all these Jewish people said, who are we to go back when God has not said it's time yet? Our opinion on this matter is not more important than God's. So this idea that all Jews have always been in favor for the creation of Israel is just blatantly not true. So what happened since then, since the creation of the Israel state? Well, first happened the Nakba, which is Arabic for, I believe, catastrophe. And basically what that was the mass displacement and dispossession of Palestinian people from their homes. All of these people moved in to Palestine, named it Israel, and shoved Palestinian people out of their homes. And they are the indigenous people of that land. These people were just shoved out of their homes, shoved out of the land of Palestine, became refugees, and so began 75 years of this onslaught against Palestinian people. And it wasn't people just like being told like you have to get out of your homes. It was also like people, like there were actual massacres that went on because Britain backed the creation of Israel for the resources. We'll get on to more of that later. So there were massacres that occurred. Children were killed. People were assaulted. This wasn't just like polite, like you have to get out. Like this was violent. Palestinians were not given the same respect, least of all the same rights as Israelis. They were forced from their homes. We've all seen the photo now of the Jewish couple from Brooklyn who moved into their home in Israel, and the Palestinian family standing outside because that used to be their home. They were evicted from their home to make room for this couple. And so more recently, what has been going on? Well, October 7th, there was an attack in Israel performed by Hamas, which is a group that is often said to speak for Palestinians. They don't. They do not speak for the majority of Palestinians or all Palestinians. They are independent from Palestine. The response from Israel has been to absolutely decimate Palestine and whoever is remaining, specifically in Gaza, which is this large city in Palestine. And Israel claims that Hamas murdered all these people and that they took as hostages, and they beheaded, I think they said like 40 babies, which is not true, because the world responded to that, said, how do you know? Did they tell you this? Is there photographic evidence? How do you know? Where's the proof? And Israel just went, oop, like, because there is no proof, because it didn't happen. And the thing is, if this was all about punishing Hamas and not Palestinians, then they would work to get the hostages back and stop bombing Palestine. But it's not about that, because Hamas has actually said, we would gladly return the hostages to you if you would just ceasefire. And Israel said, no, they're not going to. This isn't about the hostages. So what they're enforcing now is collective punishment. So the idea is that they are killing these mass groups of Palestinians in the hopes that they will get Hamas in these strikes. But here's the thing. So if there was a serial killer and the police had followed them to your mother's house, and the killer had taken your mother hostage, standing next to your mother, the police would not open fire because they could hit an innocent civilian. Well, maybe they would in the US, but that's another story. If the most important person in the world to you was being held hostage by a serial killer, you would not tell whoever apprehended them to open fire. They could hit an innocent civilian, that person who's most important in the world to you. So this idea that that they should keep doing this is completely unfounded. So let's talk about everything that's happening. Since October 7th, every single day they are bombing Palestine. They're bombing Gaza. And what are they bombing? They're bombing schools. They're bombing hospitals. They're bombing churches and mosques. And I don't know if any of you are aware of this, there are Jewish Palestinians. So this idea that it's Jews versus Muslims or Jews versus Arabs is not true. It's Israel bombing Palestinians. It has nothing to do with religion. And they're bombing all these places, and they're using white phosphorus. And just to remind you, the use of white phosphorus at all and bombing hospitals, those two things specifically are war crimes. The UN has come out and said that even in war, there are rules. Even in times of war, you cannot do these things because they are so evil and inhumane that even in times of war, you cannot do this. They keep saying that they're warning people in Palestine, telling them to flee, which they are, but they're still bombing them. And guess what? They're all in English. They're not in Hebrew, which is I think the predominant language in Israel, and they're not in Arabic, anything that would be understood by people in Palestine. They're in English for us to understand. It's propaganda for us because they know that the United States and the UK, two of the biggest superpowers in the world, are two of the few countries who might turn against them and who have the ability to do so, or at the very least to withdraw any of our aid. So anything that you see coming up from Israel, look at it with a very critical eye. They are rampant with propaganda right now. They are giving press release towards people in Gaza. Why would any of their releases be done in English if they're meant to be received by Palestinians? Because all of these releases and reports are targeting and addressing Palestinians, but they're all in English. And as Palestinians are fleeing from location to the next, the IOF is using these fleeing refugees as target practice. They are shooting them as they are fleeing. They are also not allowing for any humanitarian aid. They're not allowing food, water, medicine, or anything to get past the border so that these people can even survive. They're literally starving them out and withholding medicine and water from them. People are collecting buckets of rainwater because they are so dehydrated and they could die. They're also cutting off the electricity and trying to cut off all internet and cell service so that no one can see what they're doing to these people. They don't want any information leaving Gaza. They don't want anybody knowing what they're doing. Every now and again, the connection is restored, but it's restored by Palestinians. The Israel government is not restoring electricity out of decency. But remind yourself that includes electricity to hospitals. They're not even allowing electricity to go to hospitals. People are performing surgeries in the dark. The equipment that they're using is just doesn't have power, so people are dying. And people aren't just dying from the bombings. There's so many people dying that they can't keep up, and they can't bury people in time. So people are dying from the infections and illnesses that they are sustaining from being surrounded by corpses. Not only that, but some of the hospitals that they have bombed have been hospitals that are specifically designated to treat children with cancer. So this idea that any of this is in self-defense is an utter lie. Forgot to mention they are not just trying to kill them physically, they're also trying to kill their spirits. They are getting rid of and burning olive trees in Palestine, which is a major resource for them. And the thing about their olive trees is they're incredibly drought resistant. They are incredibly like heat wave resistant. They are so hard to kill, and they live for hundreds of years. So there are families who've been there for thousands of years and who have been taking care of these trees for hundreds of years from generation to generation, and they are burning these trees from them, which has to make you think, if the Israelis think that this land is their sacred holy land, why are they treating it this way? Why are they desecrating it and getting rid of all the natural resources that are life-sustaining? Why are they desolating the environment of Palestine? 15 minutes is up, and we have to add 1 cup of flour and mix. It seemed excessive. It's not. I don't know how this is gonna go. Add a 1/2 cup of water. Yes, okay. Things are going to improve. Okay. All right. This is doable. Once we're finished mixing this and it is sticky and soft, we're gonna cover it, leave it for 20 minutes. They are also targeting journalists. They specifically do not want people to inform the world of the atrocities that are happening. So they are targeting locations that they know there are journalists in. There are so many corpses just everywhere, so many dead bodies, that they are using ice cream trucks to store them, to keep them cool so that they don't decay because they can't bury them yet. And they have killed over 800 bloodlines. I want you to think about that for a minute. It's not families, it's not households, it's entire bloodlines. Think about you, your siblings, your parents, your grandparents, great-grandparents if they're alive, your children, your nieces and nephews, your cousins, your distant cousins, aunts and uncles, every trace of your family blood, gone. 800 bloodlines. You can't, because I know I can't, you can't fathom how many people that is. They have killed over 11,000 people so far. Today is November, I believe, 16th. And that's not even an accurate number because those are just the people that they've found and identified. And 27,000 people have been injured. There are videos of people holding up, in Gaza, holding up their dead children's bodies, begging the world to care. I've lived through the Bush administration, so I've seen war on TV before, but I have not seen the amount of uncensored dead bodies that I've seen in the past 5 weeks. I've seen videos of doctors just going through pieces of children with their relatives trying to identify them. I can't tell you guys how many photos and videos I've seen of just dead children. And I don't know about you guys, but 1 dead child is too many for me. In fact, oh, that's the other thing, is that 11,000 people have been recorded dead. Almost half of that has been children. And you would think, okay, so surely a lot of this must be Hamas members, right? If that's their goal, is to exterminate Hamas. Only 13 of the 11,000 people dead have been Hamas members. So this has never been about finding Hamas. There are countless Holocaust survivors and their families who are coming forward and saying that this is as atrocious as what Hitler did to them. There are people who have lived through the Holocaust who are coming forward and saying this is what the Nazis did to them and that it needs to stop. Again, it's not a Jews versus anybody thing. It's Zionists. Zionists are people who support the Israel apartheid. And that does not mean Jewish. Jewish is an ethnicity and a religion. Zionists is people who support the apartheid and government of Israel. Those are two separate things. You can be one and not the other, in both directions. There are thousands of Jews rallying all over the world saying, not in our name, saying, you cannot do this in our name. We rebuke this. There was two protests in New York City specifically. One, I believe, was in Grand Central Station, and the other one was at the Statue of Liberty, of thousands of Jewish people gathering together saying, you cannot commit a genocide in our name. This is not what we believe in. We do not support this. So if you're afraid of being called anti-Semitic because you want to stand up against the apartheid in Israel and the genocide in Gaza, understand it's not anti-Semitism. It's calling out genocide. And if you're in the US, the United States is funding this. Why are they funding this? Well, do you know what's under Gaza? It's oil. And we all know that the only thing that the US cares about is money and oil. So the US is funding this because they want the oil that's under Gaza. Also, because the US, as we all know, has had a history of conflict with countries in the Middle East. And we are allies with Israel. So do you see where that's heading? We want to fund Israel because it would benefit the United States as a government if we had an ally that was in the Middle East. So if we went to war with another Middle Eastern country, we would have an ally on the ground right beside those countries to fight for us. 20 minutes is up. We are going to dust the flour lightly. We are going to dust the dough lightly with flour. Oh no, okay. I don't know what I'm doing. And then we're going to divide it into 2 pieces. Will that help? I'm trying to cut it in half with the spoon. Okay, it's very wet. Okay. It's so soft though. Oh my god. It's like pleasant to touch. Okay. I'm gonna dust them again, and then it says to leave them for 10 minutes. I don't know how that will turn out because they are just so sticky. Leave for 10 minutes. So you might be watching this thinking, what can I do? What can I do as just like one individual that could possibly help? Well, the biggest thing that you can do, the most effective thing that you can do, which not all of us can do, given location and physical ability and things like that, but one of the biggest things you can do is participate in direct action. We saw people rally at a ship, excuse me, at a ship that was set to go to Israel to deliver weapons, and we saw them tie themselves to the ship and protest and keep it from departing for hours. And unfortunately it did depart, but with only a quarter of the weapons that it was supposed to leave with. And then they were set to dock at another location, and people showed up there as well. And hats off to the indigenous community in Washington who took to the waters to keep them from docking. So that is direct action, taking direct actions that will directly prevent more bloodshed. Now, not all of us can do that due to geographical location, physical ability or disability. But other things that you can do is call, email, and fax your representatives. Yes, you can fax them. There's a website where you can do that for free, and you could fax each person up to 5 times a day. That website is called faxzero.com. I'll link it in the description. The reason why faxing is a good idea is because it is a physical thing that they cannot ignore, because they are ignoring phone calls, which do it anyway. Fill up their message system, and you could actually talk directly to their assistants as well. But keep calling, keep emailing, and if you don't know where to do that, if you don't know who your representatives are, how to reach them, or even what to say, Google ceasefire now. There are tons of websites that will fill in who your representative is for you, all the contact information, and will even provide you with a script on what to say if you don't know what to say, both in phone call and in email. And I will leave links to those in the description as well. Another one is the 5 Calls app, which is a great app because it it doesn't just address the ceasefire that we want to happen. It also just addresses tons of other issues. And you just click the issues that matter to you, and then you type in your zip code, and it will like immediately prompt a phone call. It will say, you just click on your representative's name, and it'll get you connected to an immediate phone call with a script of what to say. And always feel free to personalize these. You do not have to stick to the script. You can personalize it. But something that's really important to emphasize when you do contact your representatives is that they will not get your support if they do not vote and act in your favor. The only thing that matters to politicians is money and job security. So if you pressure them and say, you will not get my continued support if you act against our wishes, your constituents' wishes, you will no longer get our support. That's the only way to get them to listen. So remember to emphasize that. Another thing that you can do is boycott. This is a huge, huge thing. The BDS, which stands for Boycott, Divestment, and Sanctions, which is an organization that has been around for a long time, has released an official list of the top companies to boycott who are supporting Israel. And those companies are Puma, Carrefour, HP, SodaStream, Ahava, Siemens, I'm not sure how to pronounce that, and AXA. Here they are right here. Oh, and Israel Goods. So any produce that is from Israel. And if you don't know, there are numbers at the beginning of a barcode that you could tell it's from Israel. It used to be 721 or 729, but they changed it because they know people are boycotting. I'll leave that in a link in the description below. And then there are organic boycotts. So those are the biggest ones that are the biggest financial contributors to Israel. And there are boycotts that organically came about, not because they are the biggest financial supporters, but they do support Israel, and they are the things that Americans pour the most money into. So those companies are McDonald's, Starbucks, Disney, Burger King. Boycott all of them. You guys need a lesson on how to boycott, because like just because you're boycotting something does not mean you throw out what you already own from them. You still have your money, and you're just creating a waste. So do not continue to give them any more of your money. That is how you boycott. And boycotts, in case you guys don't know, do not last a couple months. They last for many months, if not years. That's how they're effective. And Starbucks, you have to boycott them, especially in this season. I'm releasing this in November. It's almost December. So this is the time of the year where they make the most money. This is when we need to hit them the hardest. And that includes not buying like their products that are not in Starbucks. So like, you know how like at Walmart or something, they'll have like their iced coffees in glass bottles. Don't buy those either. That is still going to Starbucks. So you have to boycott them, and you have to like stick to it. And they're trying to get people to cave by giving like half off deals and like free fries with this, that, or the other, or like they're lowering the cost of Disney Plus. Do not fold. We have to boycott. We have to continue to boycott. I will also leave a link in the description to the BDS website if you want to learn more about what these companies are doing or how boycotting works. The next thing that you can do, this is so important, amplify Palestinian voices. There are reporters and journalists still in Gaza who are updating people as best as they can, given the poor connection and lack of electricity, and they're trying to tell people everything that is happening. Repost what they say, keep sharing what they say, and informing other people. It's so important that we boost their voices the most during all of this. Obviously, of course, go out and protest. There are websites that can tell you if there's a protest near you, how to find it. And if there isn't a protest near you, go out and start one. Learn from the terrific organizers from the Black Lives Matter movement and ask them, like, how can I create a protest, like what are some things that I need to consider, and look to your community organizers who have already done protests or are in the know on how, and ask them for advice on how to protest safely and effectively. Continue to educate yourself and educate others. Keep learning every day, like about the latest things that are happening, that are going on. Learn more about the history, and whatever you learn, pass that on to other people so that they are also well informed. Show people this video if you want. And also just like use your talents. If you are a songwriter, write a song about everything that's going on and release it to raise awareness. If you're an artist, make art. I'm an artist. I made flyers and pamphlets that I put around my city. And the most important thing that you can do is like not let this go quiet. This is an internet trend. This has been going on for 75 years. And I'll be the first to say I was not aware of this going on for a very long time, but I'm aware of it now, and I'm not gonna let this die down. You can't like care for 2 weeks and then say you're tired or you're done. This is time sensitive, and people are losing their lives as we speak every single day. This is an active genocide. And we can't just be quiet about this. Lastly, I just want to say, if you ever thought about the Holocaust and wondered what would you have done if you were alive back then, whatever you're doing now is what you would have done then. This is an active genocide happening before our eyes in real time. Whatever you're doing now is what you would have done in any other atrocity in human history. And it's really important to remember that language is really important during this whole ordeal, because it's not a war. Anybody who says it's a war, that's a propaganda statement, because Israel is one of the biggest superpowers in the world, has some of one of the biggest militaries and military sources in the world because it's backed by the US, and Palestine is nothing. Israel is literally coming in with bombs, white phosphorus, tanks, guns, and Palestine is children throwing rocks, hoping that they won't be taken from their home. So the word war implies that it's equal on both sides. It's not. It's a genocide. Also, you're gonna want to preheat to 482 Fahrenheit or 250 Celsius. This was originally in Celsius, so that's like the funky number in Fahrenheit. I forgot to put the pan in the oven. You have to put the pan in the oven as it preheats. It's integral to the recipe. I just put it in. I'm gonna wait another 10 minutes. The next step is to like flatten these out into discs on a pan. I only have one, and it's being preheated in the oven right now, so I'm gonna use plates. I don't know how well it's gonna work. Oh yeah. Yeah, it's so sticky. I don't know how it's gonna like be bread. Oh, please, please, please. Oh. Okay. Get some flour. Okay. I don't know how it's gonna come off is the thing. This is what they look like. I don't know how well this is gonna work. That one's definitely smaller. I did not divide these evenly. Okay, so I definitely fucked up. This one's right on the edge. Okay, I'm scared. So now it says to bake them for 4 to 5 minutes. We'll see what happens. So this is how they look after 5 minutes. I'm just gonna double check. It looks like they baked all the way through. Oh, I should fucking turn off the oven. Also, just to address the elephant in the room, I know that they are not attractive flatbreads. I know that they don't look the way that they're supposed to, but that doesn't matter. What matters is how they taste. Okay, it's done. It's still warm. It feels like nice and fluffy. I don't know why I was scared, but like whenever I put like something too doughy, it just doesn't rise. I guess this wasn't supposed to rise because it's a flatbread, but let's give it a shot. And it came off the pan beautifully, like no issues. This is so good. Oh my god. This is really good. This is really good. It's really easy. That's all you need. Like, it's good, easy, few ingredients, most of which you probably already have. Oh my god, this is really nice. This looks like this Let's Get This Bread was a 10 out of 10 success. Be sure to check out all the resources I left in the description on educating yourself, how to make an impact and help the situation so that the genocide in Palestine can stop. That's the most important thing about this video. And try making this bread. Enjoy a piece of Palestinian culture and cuisine. So thank you guys so much for watching. Please share this video. Give it a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Comment the Palestinian flag, anything you want. Talk about your favorite cultural fact about Palestine. And if there's any racism in the comments, I'm gonna delete those comments and block you. So don't even waste your time, because I'm not allowing for any kind of racism or Zionistic propaganda in my comments. Also, I have my social media in my description, and yeah, subscribe for more videos. So subscribe for more Let's Get This Bread videos, and I will see you in my next video. Bye.